Good afternoon, everyone. It's Michelle Silverman Bedell from Silversons Realty. We're going to connect with Maria Esposito from Citizens Bank. And today we're going to speak about what. So often when let's see if Maria is there. Um, she should be starting very shortly. Now we'll try to start again. Maria, how
Um,
are you?
well, how
Uh,
are you?
I am okay, thank you.
Good.
So today I would like to be speaking about what we can and can't do to a property, right? So there are many things that we have to consider when I'm showing a property, and often when people walk through a property, they ask me, "Well, I want to put a deck on. I want to put a patio on. I want to add another bedroom because it's only 3 bedrooms, and I really need a fourth bedroom." So, I tell them that there are many things that we have to consider when you're doing a renovation, right? You have to look at the zoning. Does the zoning permit additional square footage? You have to look at your setbacks, your side yard requirements, especially if you want to put a deck on a property or even a patio that's raised.
Right.
You have Each town is a little different. So you really have to be concerned with the zoning laws, as well as taking a permit out. People do work and they neglect to take out a permit, right?
Right.
Really a big issue. I was with clients yesterday and they said to me, could you believe a friend of mine had their job stopped? They were even changing a toilet in a bathroom without a permit. And somebody from the town found out. They came in and they stopped the job. In addition, they'll get fined in some communities without taking out a permit. So
Yeah.
you really have to know. Often people say to me, well, if I add bedrooms, and this becomes a big issue, um, uh, does the is it permitted? And I always tell people, if you're adding square footage to a property, you have to see how much coverage you're allowed to do on a
Right.
property, right?
Right.
So some property,
Right.
that house may, in that area, per the square feet, per the lot coverage, may only allow 3,000 square feet. By adding a bedroom or a family room, you could be increasing it by 600. Well, that lot size may not
Right.
permit it. So I'm sure it affects you have many different programs,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's so many things around this, right?
Right,
Because there are buyers that are coming in to buy properties where, as you mentioned, some of these changes have been made, but maybe the seller did not do it properly.
right,
Look, maybe they didn't know they had to do it. Maybe they knew and they just turned a blind eye.
right,
Maybe they knew and they're in the process of doing it, but like it became so onerous that they just gave up because like that happens, right? Michelle, you and I have seen it. Like I've seen permits take years to close out.
correct.
And who wants to, who wants to own that? But yeah, certainly like on the financing side, if you are looking at a property that you know from the onset, like I I want to buy this property, but I only want to buy it if I can make some of these changes or additions. And let's say you've done the legwork, like, like Michelle said, with knowing that like you can make them. There are special financing options for that, right? There's something called a 203K loan, but more than that, like with my bank, with Citizens, we have our own portfolio construction product that allows people to buy the home as well as get some financing to do the
Right,
renovation. The big rub with that, or I would say like the biggest sticky
right,
point of being able to get that loan is that if you're doing that when you're purchasing the property, right? If you want to try to do it all in one, is that you have to know what you're doing, right? And if it's just basic stuff and you only need a general contractor, you need something from the general contractor that's explaining the scope of the work and what the cost is.
And his
Um,
insurance and everything.
yeah, I mean, if you're doing something more, like adding a bedroom where you might need an architect and actual architectural drawings, then typically it might be difficult to do that, to get, like, if you're looking for financing to do that, to get that when you're actually buying the home, because it takes time for all. Listen, I'm doing a small, relatively small renovation project in my home that I thought would have been done by now, and we haven't even started yet, right? So everything takes a lot longer than you think it's going to take. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. You just have to have patience. But I recommend for a lot of, my clients that are telling me like, yes, I want to buy this home, but I know, like, I immediately want to, either knock this part down or knock it all down, or I want to add a bedroom. And I say, hey, look, let's get you the financing to buy the home first. Then you get your ducks in a row
Right,
for your permits, find a builder that you
right,
trust, get your drawings. And when you have all of that together, then you come back and we'll get you a
right.
construction loan. Yeah.
Exactly. I also speak about something else, that when people walk through properties, especially in Westchester, there are many older communities. Some of these properties may even have historical
Mm.
status. So, well, can I take it down? I was just in a property the other day, that was really probably at least 100 years old
Yeah.
in a historical area of New Rochelle. And when they asked me if you could do work, I said, it's a good question, because this is an older home, a very old home. So you may not be permitted,
Yeah.
per any historical restrictions. Many of these homes you can't take down. Many of these homes you cannot
You
change.
very limited.
You have to consider any kind of historical restrictions
Yep.
on it. In addition, I think you have to also look for any environmental concerns when you're doing renovation.
Sure.
People have to consider, especially if there's asbestos in the house or an underground oil tank, you really want to verify that before you.
That's okay.
Property, and you really want to make sure that there are that you can do
Right.
it, that you can do the renovations, or if you have wells around the property or septic fields, if you want to do an addition and there's a septic field or a septic tank
Yep.
in that area, you cannot start usually unless you can relocate it. But I think that requires a lot of money, and you need
Yeah,
inspections and permits
for
to even
sure.
start. So you really have to look at, what your lot size
Yeah.
permits. To really summarize, you have to look at if there are any environmental issues, if there are any historical restrictions. If you live, and I didn't even mention this, in a homeowners association,
Yes.
people
I was
ask
just going to say
the
that.
windows, can we paint the house a different color?
Right.
You have restrictions imposed
Right.
on you by the homeowners, the HOA, or a condominium
Yeah.
association, if it's a townhouse.
Listen,
So you have.
I've also seen, like, with single family homes, like, you may not be in like a traditional HOA, say like with a condo, but where there are like certain areas of homes that might be, somewhat in a development, and they might have their own architectural review board that has to review any changes at all that you want to make to a home.
Right. That's clearly the case,
Yeah.
or a height restriction on a home.
Yeah.
People forget about that. But like in certain communities, they're very strict on how high that single family home could
Yes.
be. I think the other and the last thing I really want to say about this, unless you may want to add something, Marie, is easements. When you look at a
Yeah.
home, if you wanted to, you really should have a survey, because on that survey, there'll be easements. You could not build anything permanent, such as a deck,
Yep.
such as a pool, on a utility easement or any kind of easement that's running through your property. People forget that. So when they see a nice big open space and you're sitting on a third to a half an acre, you think, oh, I could put a pool, I could put I could put a shed. I could put anything more permanent on it, even a deck. You
Right.
need to look at that survey, not only to see your setbacks,
Yes.
side, rear, and front, but you really should make sure that there are no easements running through your
Yep.
property, because it also limit the use of the, the scope of the property.
Yep. Yep. 1,000%. Yeah. Very well said.
But if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to Marie for financing through Citizen. We've worked together well. She's great. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me about any kind of real estate. Have
All
a great
right.
day, Friday.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Have a great
Be
day. Bye.
well.